Hey guys, it's 258. Welcome back to your family and you, chapter 3. I just realized your family and you, other than, Twilight being pregnant, and I'm pretty sure Twilight hasn't told Max yet. I'm pretty sure that's a fact right now since this is recently after the whole chaos occurred after you woke up. I am assuming that Twilight hasn't told Max about the pregnancy yet. And when it says your family and you, it's not just about Twilight and Max's little foal. It's about the guards, Spike, and basically everyone who lives in the library right now. And I'm like, oh, it's more of an adorable thing that I get to see like that. Anyways, let's hop right into it. Chapter 3, Blood for the Spud. If you don't remember, while they were high, dumb idea to put your actions in motion when you're high, by the way. Just gonna put that out there. Max and Primrose out here being high concluded that if you water tomatoes with blood, that you can get bloody tomatoes that taste like blood for Primrose, which I don't know if that's a thing, but I doubt highly. But this is a magical world where there can be vampire ponies, 2 horses that are literally control the sun and the moon, another one that controls love basically, and the other one that controls magic. So I'm pretty sure anything's possible. So why not? Let's hop right into it. Chapter 3, Blood for the Spud. I can't believe I let you guys talk me into this, Ebony grumbled with a huff. She blew a strand of pink hair out of her eyes, lifting the hammer in her magic. She lined up the shot before sinking the nail in with one hit, leaning on the open window So, Primrose and I watched her work from inside the kitchen. Primrose had dragged a couch pillow along with her and was now perched on the sill like a spoiled cat in the sunlight. The whites of her eyes had turned black and her fangs protruded from her lips along with the almost finished joint. As she exhaled, smoke wafted up into the dense foliage above and disappeared amongst the leaves. At this point, I had stopped smoking with her and instead was now snacking on a bag of mixed nuts I had found in the pantry. Normally, I wasn't much of a nut person, but I was starving and they just looked and sounded delicious at the moment. Glorious flavors filled in my mouth as I munched on roasted peanuts and almonds. I dug around for another handful, only to pause when a sad, startling chirp came from behind me. Parastede was seated on the floor, giving me a forlorn look. At first, I didn't know what the problem was, but then her eyes darted down to the bag of nuts in my hands. Digging out a large walnut, I tossed it to her. Her eyes lit up, and she darted forward, catching the tumbling nut in her mouth, where she proceeded to crunch down on it with much enthusiasm. I threw her a couple more nuts before turning back to stare out the window at Ebony. She was putting the final touches to the project before stepping back and examining the window box she had just erected. Dark soil filled with the hardwood platter and little wire nets stuck up in evenly spaced intervals through it. There, Ebony grunted, taking a step back. That should about do it. What about the watering system, I asked. She stared blankly at the box before. I had really hoped that you would forget about that part, shaking her head. She picked up a medical bag that had been sitting by the base of the tree. The main flap opened, and she pulled out a large blood bag. Are you sure about this? She asked as she held the blood bag in her magic. Why are you going through with this? It's stupid, and I love it. Exhaling a cloud of smoke, Primrose smiled and nodded her head eagerly. She stared at the blood bag like a filly on her swarming knee. Yes, all of my eyes. This is gonna work. This is gonna be great. Beside her, I nodded at her as well, my mouth full of cashews. But this is your blood, Ebony said to me. I shrugged. I'm not using it at the moment. Yes, but if I use it for this, we'll have to resupply our stocks, she said, waving the bag around through the air. Primrose's eyes followed its motion like a cat watching a mouse. That means we'll have to draw more blood from you, which entails sticking you with needles. You hate needles. I shrugged in. With you guys living here, I'm used to dealing with a bunch of little pricks at this point. Haha! The jokes, I love it. My boy's still agitated and I love it for it. Ebony opened her mouth only to pause, her eyes knowing as she stared up at me. I tried to give her a blank look, but the corners of my mouth turned traitors and slowly began to twitch upwards against my will. Well, yeah, okay, yeah, you can't really have a poker face anymore since everybody knows you're, more than you seem now. So I'm pretty sure you got used to it. Pretty sure you know that you're not gonna die or anything bad's gonna happen now since everything's good basically. Beside me, I heard Primrose fighting back on the giggles. Ebony continued to stare at us for a moment before sighing again. Alright, fine, let's just get this over with. She opened the medical bag again and pulled out an IV kit, which she promptly began disassembling the needle component. Using said needle, she poked holes along the thin rubber tube at even intervals. As I watched her work, a sad chirp came from behind me again, fishing out another large walnut. I threw it over my shoulder. A moment later, there came a snap and a crunch, followed by the sound of chewing. I tossed another one back there before enjoying a handful of peanuts myself. By then, Ebony had finished with her assembly, hanging the blood bag on a small hook above the window, and she ran in the tube down the side of the window frame and snapped and snicked it through the planter box. Right, she said, rubbing her nose with a hoof. That's the best I can do with the materials I have presently. But it should be all set up now. And this will work. Primrose asked, her ears pricking up. Ebony shook her head. This shouldn't work at all. Plants need water to grow, not blood. If anything, all this will accomplish is giving us cloudy, clumpy soil that smells and attracts flies after a couple of days. Still, I'll play along until you guys come to your senses. So how does this work? Anyway, I asked, poking the blood bag with a finger. I watched as it swung back and forth. It uses the same premise as drip irrigation, Ebony said, her horn lit up as she stopped the bag swinging. When I opened the tab, blood will flow down the tube and slowly be dispersed into the soil thanks to the small holes in the tube itself. This would normally help the plants grow by getting the water into the root system with minimal evaporation. However, as I said before, this is blood and not water. I have no idea what's going to happen. She paused before tisking. Actually, I know what's going to happen. Nothing good. That's what we love to hear. No, this will work. I said, we've done the math. Everything checks out. This is going to work. What math? What math do you have to do? Have to pull out of your butt to see if this is going to work? What math? Goddammit! I need you to tell me, Max. Primrose. What math? Ebony gave me an incredulous look before shaking her head. And make her help us, she muttered. Before turning the IV tab with her magic, she slowly began to ooze down the tube, creeping down and down until it reached the soil below. There we go, she said. Now it starts. So, Primrose said, her eyes watching the blood sliding down the tube. How long until the tomatoes go? Ebony paused and packing up the medical bags. Well, should this actually work, which it won't, it'll be about 40 to 50 days until the plant starts to actually produce a fruit. She's talking about over her back. However, the blood is probably just going to kill the seeds. So yeah, nothing's going to happen. That's where you're wrong, kiddo, I laughed. I can practically taste the flavor already, Primrose mumbled, her tongue lolling out. I give up. Ebony sighed, turning. She headed for the back door. I don't know anymore. I don't know. Remember to change the bag when it's out. She stopped before sighing again and muttering under her breath. I can't believe I did this. Yeah. Reaching up, I poked the blood bag again. So, how long do you think this will last before we need to change it out? I don't know, Primrose. Maybe like every 7 days, 8. How many bags of blood do we have downstairs? I asked. About 6 of yours, I think. Primrose hummed. Maybe 7. Do you have any of your guys' blood down there too? There was a sad trip and I threw an almond over my shoulder. There was a crunch before. Alpha nut. Good. Spiresteed, what are you doing? No. I think we used all our supplies during the cancel-out incident, Primrose said. She paused before shaking her head. Actually, the other 2 might have resupplied, but I haven't been in proper shape to resupply yet. It doesn't matter, I said. We'll just use mine then. I don't think it'll take more than 6, right? My boy. More alpha? More alpha nut. Piracy, why do you want? No, I don't think it'll take more than 6. I hope not. Otherwise, we might just have to hook me up to the drip manually. Alpha nut. And what's wrong with that? I wouldn't be able to leave the kitchen. Where am I supposed to sleep? Go to the bathroom? Stuff like that. Alpha nut, please. Oh, good point. I guess if worst comes to worst, we can just have Ebony take some more blood out, right? Nut for Piracy. But you hate needles. I just need a distraction. Maybe I can get Twilight to... What? What do you want? Alpha, nut in mouth, please. Alright, fine. God, hold still. Get Twilight to do something. Darkness was beginning to fall over the library. The last light of the setting sun shone through the windows, casting the room in a deep orange hue. Even as the shadows lengthened, fireflies were beginning to flash to each other, and the nocturnal creatures stirred from the upper balcony. Owlicious hooted before taking off into the sky to hunt. Entrenched at the far end of the couch, I had my battle leg up on a footstool. A bottle of whiskey rested on the table beside me, and a glass of it sat in my head. Having already finished off a few rounds beforehand, I was feeling rather relaxed and warm. Primrose was on the other end of the couch, draped over the armrest as usual. She had another blunt in her mouth, although this one was smaller than the one before and had more fruity aroma than before. The bandages around her chest had been pulled back, revealing the wounds on her chest as she aired them out. She had a deep crater on her chest with a matching one opposite on her back. While not life-threatening anymore, it was still nice to look at, as peckish, clear liquid oozed around the edges. Drainage, she had grunted when I asked her if that meant it was infected or not. Across the way, Ebony sat on one of the library's cushions. A flowery bandana kept her bangs out of her eyes. In her magic, she had a mug of her own, which she nursed reverently. Her supply of cinnamon apple cider running dangerously low. She remember the callback again. Her supply of cinnamon apple cider running dangerously low. She took a little sip, swimming happily with each taste. Avera was stretched out across the armchair, her wings spread wide and her black feathers disheveled. She had just gotten home not that long ago from her delivery gig. The milk cap still resting on top of her disheveled two-toned red mane over the past couple of weeks. She had been taking up odd jobs around town for extra bits. When we asked her why, she had just shrugged and said it was for a personal reason. She didn't seem overly stressed about it, so we let it be. Well, that's good. She's at least not being bored. We were all relatively grouped around a small coffee table that was illuminated by a dim lantern overhead. Various food wrappers covered the scuffed wood, as well as some empty bottles in the center of the table. In the center of the table, though, was the focus that was not the focus of our attention. That was not the focus of our attention. It was a new game that Ebony had picked up from a local hobby shop one day when she was out and about. The premise was rather simple. It was called Hail to the Fungeon, and it was played almost like an RPG-style Liar's Dice. It was turn-based, with each player bidding to see who could get a solitary hero token to the shared dungeon with the provided equipment. When it was your turn, you could either add monster cards to the dungeon pile, which would make the trial even harder, remove a piece of equipment from the hero, which would make the hero weaker, or drop out of the bidding by passing the last player standing. Then the last player standing then had to take the hero into the fungeon and confront all the monsters decided with what little equipment they had left. That's interesting. That's an interesting game. Versus something based on this world, in our world, but I don't know what it is. To make matters worse, even more complicated, certain monsters cards can only be defeated by certain equipment cards. If said monster card came up and you didn't have the proper equipment, you took full damage. Oh, that's gotta suck. Basically, you're trying to fuck over your friends without getting screwed over yourself. Seems like a normal day. It was a fun game, and even though there was some mental planning that went into your decisions, it was also fairly relaxing as well. Leaning back against the couch, I sipped at my whiskey as Avera took her turn. She drew a card from the pile, and after studying it for a moment, placed it her face down in front of her before grabbing the spear equipment piece and removing it from play. I don't think she's coming back tonight, she said. She placed the spear piece on top of the face down card. Grabbing a bottle of cider, she popped the cap with a tooth before downing half the contents in one gulp. Who's not coming back? Ebony asked as Primrose took her tone. What do you think? Era grunted. Sparkle, our kind of benevolent landlady. It's getting dark and she's still not back yet. I have to assume she's not coming back home tonight. Of course she isn't, I scoffed. This caused her to think, what? Did she tell you she was staying there overnight or something? I shook my head. No, but knowing her, I kind of figured I'd be willing to bet 20 bits that she's currently going through the library book by book. She's definitely not coming home tonight. Reaching down, I drew a card and looked at it. The dragon card stared back at me, and I suppressed a grin. Everyone had already removed the spear, which meant nothing could beat the dragon, which did the most damage. Keeping my face blink, I slipped the dragon face down on the dungeon pile before continuing. I expect her to be back sometime tomorrow afternoon, but I don't know if she took any food with her or not. So you're saying it's a battle between her love of reading and her need for food, Everett figured. Poor Spike, Ebony said, her ears playing back. He can't walk home by himself. Well, with the castle being deep in the ever-free forest, I just hope he finds somewhere comfortable to sleep. I wouldn't be surprised if he took a pillow with him just in case, I said. Honestly, depending on how ragged Twilight runs him, he might just pass out on a pile of books. Finishing off with a whiskey in my glass, I poured myself more from the dwindling supply in the bottle. I suppose, Ebony said, leaning forward. She drew a card from the deck, and after giving it a quick look, tossed it onto the dungeon pile. Pass, Aurora said, leaning back further in the armchair. Pass, Primrose rasped, smoke escaping her nostrils. I'm gonna have to pass, I said as Primrose passed me the blunt. The flavor of black cherry and blueberries filled my numb mouth as I took a hit and held it in. Mother Bookers, Ebony grumbled. Her horn lit up and she dragged the dungeon pile over to her, casting an eye over to the few pieces of equipment she had left. She began flipping the cards over one by one while muttering under her breath. Timberwolf, the torch deals with that. Indigo, torch deals with that as well. The drag motherfucker. She slammed her hooves on the table and glared at each of us in turn. Which one of you buckers put the dragon in there? Get wrecked, scrub! I said while exhaling a bloom of smoke. Ebony glared at me before closing her eyes and saying, she picked up the cards again. No, alright, it's fine. I still have 3 health. I can do this. Why the buck is Wraith card here too? Oops, Primrose snickered. Mother Bookers, Ebony groaned, clasping onto the table. Well, that's the second time you've died of her. I said, you know what that means. Yeah, Ebony said as she sat up. What do you guys want? A large with green peppers, red onions, mushrooms, and anchovies, Aurora said quickly. A large with extra cheese and red onions with pineapple in half. I added. Primrose and I are going to split it. Oh, and a small for pirate seat. A soft snore came from behind this couch as if she knew she was being talked about. I feel like pirate seat is like one of those ones, so I just know that Alpha is going to be talking about her. My god, Max is the alpha. Forgot about that. My boy is the alpha of all humans. My boy is the alpha out here. I forgot about that. That is wicked. The details I don't remember, but I know he's noble now. I'm not sure. I want to see a story where he's out and about. Like, I know there's interludes in the last story, but I want interludes with this one. Well, not really interludes. I want chapters to just show what's happening. Because right now, we've been in the library for a long time now. Anyways, let's hop back into it. Everybody nodded and placed her mug onto the table. Alright, I'll be back in a little bit. Grabbing her saddlebag, she headed for the front door, calling back over in her shoulder as she did so. And nobody touches my cider. I watched her go for a moment before gathering up all the dissolved cards, shuffling. I glanced around at the other two. So, next one I have to do a desert run. Works for me, Primrose said. Vera nodded. I'm in. Better hurry then, I said, placing the cards down. Sugar Cube Corner closes in half an hour. The end, my boys. I love them so much. I love these guys so much, man. Even though it's just Max and the girls, but I love it so much. But yeah, I forgot Max, like, of course, Piracy calls him the alpha, but my boy is actually the alpha. My boy is the smartest human being in this world currently. And it's just crazy to think that, like, he's the alpha of all of them. Also, I feel like he is the alpha for the Timberwolves as well, but I don't remember that. I remember, like, coming to bed, like, I want him to be the alpha of the Timberwolves because he killed the alpha, and I'm like, they deserve to be your on call whenever you need it. So that's what I think. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching, listening. Great guys do, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
100,000 stories have filled my head as I look for the end.